The demolition order was taped to my front door. I stared at it, bright orange. It flapped a little in the wind, held up by blue painter's tape. My hands weren't shaking yet. That came later. I read the date at the bottom. October 14th. They gave me 72 hours to tear it down. I walked inside and set my keys on the counter. The house was quiet. My wife, Sarah, was still at work. I remember looking at the kitchen calendar, seeing the date circled in red where we were supposed to host her sister's baby shower. That wasn't going to happen, not now. I went to the fridge and got a beer. I didn't open it. I just held the cold glass against my forehead and tried to calculate how much money I had left in our savings account. 27 months. That's how long it had been going on. 27 months of letters, emails, fines, and threats. And now, an orange piece of paper that told me I had 3 days to destroy 2 years of hard work. I put the beer down. I didn't know it then, but I was about to find the one document that would ruin their lives. I'm a structural engineer by trade. I deal with loads, stresses, and code compliance every single day. When we bought the house on Oak Ridge Drive, I read the CC and articles. I really did. I'm the guy who actually reads the terms and conditions before clicking accept. The documents were standard. Keep the lawn cut. No pink flamingos. No cars on blocks. Fine. I can live with that. We bought the place because of the backyard. It was deep, sloping gently down toward a creek with a clear view of the wooded ridge beyond. The only downside was the neighbor directly to the north. His name was Richard. Richard was the HOA president. He was a retired actuary who treated the neighborhood like his personal terrarium. He had a tape measure clipped to his belt when he walked his dog. I'm not exaggerating. I saw him measure a neighbor's grass height on a Tuesday morning at 6:45 a.m. But for the first year, we were ghosts. We paid our dues, $147 a month, and kept our heads down. The trouble started because I needed a workspace. I build custom furniture as a side hustle. Walnut tables, oak cabinets, heavy stuff. The garage was too small, so I looked at the backyard. There was a perfect spot near the property line down by the creek, hidden by a row of mature pines. I designed a workshop, not a shed. A workshop, poured concrete foundation, framed walls, cedar siding that matched the main house, architectural shingles. It was going to be beautiful. I drew up the plans myself. I checked the setbacks. I checked the coverage ratios. I checked the height limits. I submitted the architectural review request on a Thursday. I included material samples, paint swatches, and CAD drawings. I thought they'd be impressed. I should have known better. The rejection letter arrived 11 days later. It didn't come by email. It came via certified mail. I signed for the green card, feeling a little prick of annoyance. I opened the envelope in the driveway. Denied. Just one word stamped across the top of my application. Below that, a single typed paragraph. The proposed structure is not consistent with the aesthetic character of Oak Ridge Estates. Furthermore, the board has determined that the location interferes with sightlines designated as community assets. See Article 4, Section 2, 1A. I blinked. Sightlines. I walked into the backyard and stood where the workshop was supposed to go. I looked north toward Richard's house. His massive deck overlooked the slope. From his lounge chair, he had a view of the creek. My workshop would have blocked maybe 5% of that view. 5% of a view he didn't own. I assumed it was a misunderstanding. I'm an engineer. I solve problems. I called the property management company. A woman named Linda answered. She sounded tired. The board has final discretion on all outbuildings, she said. If they say no, it's no. But Section 2, 1 refers to common areas, I said, looking at the document on my desk. My yard isn't a common area. An aesthetic character is subjective. I'm using materials more expensive than the ones on my actual house. You can appeal, she said. Next meeting is in 3 weeks. I appealed. I printed out 3D renderings. I showed how the roofline mimicked the existing architecture. I even offered to plant 3 mature spruce trees to screen it completely from Richard's view. The meeting was held in the community center basement. Richard sat at the center of the table. He didn't look at my drawings. He looked at the wall behind me. "The variance is denied," he said before I'd even finished my presentation. "On what grounds?" I asked. "Aesthetics," he said. He tapped a pen on the table. "We don't want a shantytown look back there." It was a $25,000 custom studio. "It's not a shanty," I said, keeping my voice level. "It's a permitted accessory structure." "Not here it isn't," Richard said. "Next item." I went home. I was angry, but I wasn't stupid. I checked the bylaws again. There was a clause about temporary structures being allowed for construction purposes. I decided to wait. I figured I'd redesign, maybe make it smaller, try again in 6 months. That was my mistake. I should have fought them right then. I didn't build the workshop. I left the space empty. But 2 weeks later, I got a fine, $75, unapproved debris in rear yard. I went out back. There was a small pile of lumber I'd bought for the project, stacked neatly under a tarp. I moved the lumber into the garage. I paid the fine. 3 days later, another fine, $150, improperly stored waste containers. My trash can was 3 inches visible from the street. Then it escalated. Grass height exceeds 4 inches, $75. Vehicle parked in driveway longer than 48 hours, $100. Holiday decorations displayed outside permitted window, $75. It was a barrage. Every Tuesday and Friday there was an envelope. I started tracking them. Richard, it had to be Richard. I saw him standing at the edge of his property line, staring at my house with binoculars. I walked over there one evening. "Richard," I said, "can we talk?" He didn't turn around. He was pruning a rose bush. "Submit your request in writing," he said. "I'm standing right here. Why are you doing this?" He snipped a dead bloom. "You challenged the board. You need to learn that the covenants aren't suggestions. They are contracts." "I didn't build the shop," I said. "You intended to," he said. It showed a lack of respect for the community standards. That's when I knew. This wasn't about rules, it was about dominance. He wanted me to sell. He wanted to pick his neighbors, and I had failed the interview. Over the next 18 months, the fines totaled $4,847. I contested every single one. I went to hearings. I wrote letters. I cited the specific times my car was moved. I took photos of a ruler in the grass showing it was 3.5 inches. They denied every appeal. Board discretion, the letters said. Then they put a lien on the house. I stopped sleeping. Sarah was worried. She'd come downstairs at 2 a.m. and find me at the dining room table surrounded by stacks of paper. I had built a war room. Binder 1, correspondence. Binder 2, financials. Binder 3, photographic evidence. I had photos of Richard's trash cans left out for 3 days. No fines. I had photos of the treasurer's unapproved fence. No fines. I had a spreadsheet correlating the dates of my fines with the dates I had challenged Richard in meetings. But the real discovery happened by accident. I was looking for a way to fight the lien. I went down to the county recorder's office to pull the original plat maps for the subdivision. I wanted to see exactly where the property lines were, hoping maybe Richard's fence was encroaching on my land. It wasn't, but I saw something else. On the plat map from 1988, there was a dotted line running through the back of all our lots, right along the creek. It was labeled Municipal Utility Easement/Drainage Access. I traced the line with my finger. It cut through the bottom 30 feet of my yard, and it cut through Richard's yard and the treasurer's yard. I pulled the county code regarding easements. Section 12:04. No permanent structures shall be erected within a designated municipal easement without express written consent of the city engineer. I looked at the satellite photo on my phone. Richard's massive, tiered deck, the one he sat on to judge me, extended at least 15 feet into that easement. The treasurer's swimming pool equipment shed was sitting dead center on the line. I sat back in the plastic chair at the recorder's office. The air conditioning was humming. I felt a smile crack my face for the first time in a year, but I needed more. I didn't just want to hurt them. I wanted to beat them. I wanted to build my workshop. I started researching accessory structures in the new city zoning overhaul. The city had passed a density and infill initiative 3 months ago to combat the housing shortage. I read the new code. Then I read it again. Then I pulled the state law that superseded local covenants regarding accessory dwelling units. I found a clause in the state bill. Senate Bill 9 overrides all private covenants and restrictions regarding the construction of ADUs, provided the unit meets city safety codes. Overrides private covenants. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I went home with a plan, but Richard wasn't done. 2 days later, the demolition order appeared. It wasn't for a structure. It was for my unapproved landscaping. I had planted a row of arborvitae trees along the property line to block Richard's view. I didn't ask for permission because trees aren't structures. The HOA declared them a spite fence. They gave me 72 hours to remove them, or they would hire a contractor to do it and bill me triple. Sarah broke down that night. We were sitting in the kitchen. The orange paper was on the table between us. "Let's just move," she said. Her voice was thin. "Brittle, I can't do this anymore. I hate coming home. I hate seeing him watch us. If we move with a lien on the house, we lose 20 grand at closing," I said. "Plus the fines." "I don't care," she said. She was crying now. "Pay them. Let's just go." I looked at her. She looked 10 years older than she had the day we moved in. I almost did it. I almost picked up the phone and called a realtor. It would be easier, just walk away. Let Richard win. Let him sit on his illegal deck and measure the next guy's grass. I stood up and walked to the back window. I could see Richard's house lights through the trees he wanted to cut down. He was in his living room. I could see the blue flicker of a TV. He was comfortable. He was safe. He thought he owned me. "No," I said. Sarah looked up. "What? We're not moving," I said. "And those trees aren't coming down. He's going to send a crew," she said. "Let him," I said. "By the time they get here, the permit will be posted." I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" "To the lumber yard," I said. "I need to buy some stakes." I took the day off work. I was at the city planning office when they unlocked the doors at 8 a.m. I asked to see the senior planner. His name was Mr. Henderson. He was a guy with coffee stains on his tie and a desk buried under rolled-up blueprints. I laid it all out. "I want to apply for a permit," I said. "For a shed?" he asked, glancing at my sketch. "No," I said. "For a detached accessory dwelling unit, 750 square feet, 2 stories, full plumbing, separate electrical meter." He frowned. "That's a big structure for that lot. Does your HOA allow that?" I slid the copy of Senate Bill 9 across the desk. I'd highlighted the relevant paragraph in neon yellow. "State law says they can't stop it," I said, "as long as it meets city setbacks." Henderson read the highlighted text. He adjusted his glasses. "You're right," he said, "but the setbacks are tight. You'd have to be 5 feet from the property line." "I know," I said. "Here's the site plan." I showed him where I wanted to put it, directly on the north property line. 22 feet tall. It wouldn't just block Richard's view of the creek. It would block his view of the sun. It would cast a shadow over his entire deck from 2 p.m. until sunset. "And one more thing," I said, pulling out the plat map from 1988. "While we're looking at code compliance, I noticed some irregularities with the neighboring structures regarding the municipal drainage easement." Henderson looked at the map. Then he looked at the satellite overlay I'd printed. His eyebrows shot up. "Is that a permanent deck foundation in the easement?" "It looks like it," I said. "And a pool pump house on the other side." He sighed. A long, heavy sigh. But there was a glint in his eye. He hated HOAs. Most city planners do. They clutter up his desk with petty nonsense. "I'll have to send an inspector out to verify the easement encroachments," he said. "If those structures are in the utility path, they're non-compliant." "What happens then?" I asked. "They have to be removed," he said, "at the owner's expense." I paid the permit fee for the ADU, $1,247. He stamped the application, approved. The ink was still wet when I walked out. The HOA's landscaping crew showed up on Thursday to cut down my trees. I was waiting for them. So was the permit board, nailed to a 4x4 post right where they wanted to park. And so was the city inspector, a woman named Janice who looked like she could bench press a truck. Richard came running out of his house in his bathrobe. "What is this?" he screamed. "You can't build here. The board denied it." I didn't say anything. I just pointed to the permit. "City approved." I said state mandated. "Accessory dwelling unit." "I don't care what the city says." Richard yelled. He was turning a shade of purple I'd never seen before. "The covenants are binding." "Not on this," Janice said. She stepped forward, clipping a clipboard to her hip. "State law overrides you, sir. Interference with a permitted construction project is a Class B misdemeanor." Richard sputtered. He looked at the landscapers. "Cut the trees down." "Don't touch them," Janice said. "Those trees are part of the approved screening plan for the new structure." The landscapers got back in their truck and left. Then Janice turned to Richard. "Mr. Miller," she said, "while I'm here, I need to take a look at your deck. We have a report of an easement violation." Richard went pale. "My deck?" "Yes," she said. "The footings appear to be within the municipal drainage zone. I need to measure." I stood on my patio and drank coffee while she measured. I watched her spray paint bright orange lines on Richard's pristine Brazilian walnut decking. I watched her write him a citation. Then she walked 2 houses down to the treasurer's house and tagged the pool shed. The construction of my ADU started 3 weeks later. It wasn't a workshop anymore. It was a guest house. It was tall. It was imposing. The north wall, the one facing Richard, had no windows, just 22 feet of vertical gray siding. I hired a crew to frame it fast. In 4 days, the skeleton was up. Richard's view was gone. His deck was now a dark, shady tunnel looking directly at a blank wall, but he couldn't sit on the deck anyway. The city gave him 30 days to remove the encroachment. He had to hire a demolition crew to saw off the back 12 feet of his deck. It cost him $18,000. The treasurer had to move her entire pool filtration system. That was another $6,000. And the HOA legal fund drained. They tried to file an injunction against my ADU. Their lawyer told them to drop it. He charged them $5,000 to tell them they had already lost. It's been 6 months now. The guest house is finished. It's actually really nice. We put a small kitchenette in it. Sarah uses the upstairs for her yoga practice. I use the downstairs for my woodworking. It blocks the wind, and it blocks the noise. Richard put his house on the market in February. It sat for 90 days. Nobody wanted to buy a house with a truncated deck that stares at a 2-story wall. He finally lowered the price by $40,000. It sold last week to a young couple with 3 loud dogs and a drum kit. I walked out back this morning. The sun was hitting the new workshop perfectly. I ran my hand along the cedar siding. I still have the denied stamp from that first letter. I framed it. It hangs right over my table saw. I turned on the saw. The hum was loud, steady, and perfect. I think I'm going to build a birdhouse next. A really big one.